Hi, it's Caroline Morris here from Wide Eyed. I hope you're all well. As you can hear, I'm getting a little bit better, so this has been lingering for some time. So today I want to talk about conflict. And one of the things I think is really interesting about the word conflict is that it can mean quite different things for people. So if I just first off give a little bit of a definition about what I think conflict means, certainly in a work context. And that's the acceptance of different perspectives, the willingness to have a disagreement in a civilised, constructive manner, and then being able to reach compromise. So I think for sometimes when people think about conflict, they think about the shouty, aggressive, that side of things. And I think that's when conflict's broken down, when people can't handle different perspectives and feel threatened, that's when they get into that very kind of anxious, competitive, combative state, rather than an acceptance of a disagreement and a different perspective. So today when I'm thinking about conflict, I'm thinking about it in terms of a different perspective rather than that combative thing. And it's been interesting because when I've seen conflict fail, when it has become combative, where leaders have been, I guess quite frankly, very uncivilised towards each other, quite unprofessional, quite shouty, very angry, then it makes it very difficult for them and their teams to work together. And it's almost like every time something happens, no matter how trivial, they react to it. Again, it's that threat response. They're fighting it because they think they're under threat. And when I've brought teams together, team leaders together in conflict, often the issue is initially they don't trust each other. They think someone's trying to do something to them in some way. It's Machiavellian or, behind closed doors saying things that they're probably not saying. And then there's that sense of forgiveness. So once they have had a falling out, actually allowing that to go and move forward. So kind of holding on to that. So my reflection about conflict, because it was certainly something I would kind of avoid, and I think that's because the word didn't resonate with me. But then when I thought about it, about accepting disagreement, accepting different perspectives, I then reflected what was happening and how useful it can be, in fact, how imperative it is for highly performing teams. So my first thought is, how do you spot that you're avoiding conflict? And I've got a few things around this. One thing is, I think, is if you're being really polite and dancing around the issue, if you're really not getting to the point, not being succinct about what it is, then there's a real chance that you are trying to avoid conflict. If you find yourself speaking about someone rather than to them, then you're again probably in a state of trying to avoid a conflict or avoid a different perspective in a disagreement. And if there's any sort of sense of disquiet, discomfort, where you feel you're holding back, then again, that's probably a good indicator that there's something going on that needs addressing. So my second thought then is about what benefit is from embracing conflict. And I think there's two aspects of this. One is that it's about really learning to appreciate and listen without kind of judgment on someone else's different perspective. And I've talked about this in previous sessions around listening skills and that sense of being able to just listen to someone, even if their point is completely sort of counter to yours, really understand what's going on rather than getting yourself ready to jump in. And actually then, once you start to understand where the person's coming from, then the second point is you'll move into compromise and actually maybe see some merits in what they're saying. And I've definitely seen this in two people with great conflict, that when actually they started to listen to each other, it turned out that they wanted the same thing, but because they were kind of taking what each other was saying so literally, that they weren't really listening to the content and the essence of what they were trying to say. And my sort of third thought is that actually without conflict, we're restricting ourselves from an innovation and creativity point of view. If we just stick to our instincts, the mundane, the usual day-to-day, then we're not going to be challenged and we're not then going to allow ourselves to think in a wider context. And I often think about this in the fast and slow thinking. Fast thinking can be, of course, very, very useful and very powerful, but often it means that we stick with what we know and the instincts and all those other things that happen related to fast thinking. So it doesn't allow us to move out of our comfort zone, and it often means that we maybe react negatively to a different perspective. Whereas when we cogitate and have a bit of slow thinking, then actually we can start to see some merits and useful thinking in the different perspective. So that's it really. Again, love to hear your thoughts. How to notice that you're avoiding conflict, embracing conflict and seeing the power of it, and then expanding on that and seeing the use for innovation and creativity. A little bit of stepping out of your comfort zone. Always love to hear your thoughts, and again, I've got loads of videos. If this one is of interest, then please take a look at those and like my page, my Wide-Eyed Group Facebook page. That's it for today, and I'll see you next week, where I'm going to expand on this and talk about difficult conversations and how to have them. So see you then. Bye-bye.